Hello, everybody. This is Seth, Head of Operations here at QUOINE. And today I am joined by Gee-Hwan Cuang from the Ink Protocol team. We're going to be listing the XNK token on our Cryptos exchange. XNK will be trading against BTC, ETH, and Cash. So, Gee-Hwan, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Seth. Looking forward to chatting for sure.
Great. So obviously I'm very excited about the project, and I've gotten to know you over the past couple of weeks. And I wanted to first start off, give you an opportunity to tell the community a little bit about your background and what you were doing before you got involved in the blockchain world.
Sure. So in 2009, my co-founder and I started a company called Listia. It's basically a peer-to-peer marketplace, primarily for buying and selling used goods. So we started in 2009, have been running that ever since. To date, we have about 10 million users, and people have traded about 100 million items over those last several years. So, we're running Listia for many years, and it was about a couple years ago where we started to dabble in cryptocurrency, and about middle of last year when we started Ink Protocol.
Got it. So was there sort of an aha moment for you where you thought that some of the sort of business processes that are, that are done in kind of an auction market that are better solved on a blockchain?
Yeah. So there are kind of two main things that drove us to do this. One is Listia actually already uses a virtual currency. So they have always been called Listia credits. When you sell something, you earn credits. When you want to spend those credits, you can buy something else in the marketplace. So that's when we realized, this is a very, very low fee, low cost way to buy and sell and trade. You retain almost all of the value when you do it this way. There's no credit card fees. There's no large marketplace fees. So, the idea of using digital currency to buy and sell online was very, very appealing. We saw it working, for the last 9 years. So that was the first reason we thought of, okay, cryptocurrency, digital currency could work really well here. And the second was, we built up all this logic around a typical peer-to-peer transaction. So you have a buyer, you have an item, you have kind of a escrow period and potential, dispute. And then at the end of it, you have a feedback loop where you can leave reputation. And we thought, if we can build this whole transaction system in a decentralized way, then suddenly you can buy and sell everywhere. You don't need to use an established marketplace. Like you could just sell something on Twitter or Instagram, use this transaction system, and you're kind of protected. So we kind of took everything we learned over the last 8-9 years and distilled it into what is today Ink Protocol.
So that kind of leads into my next question is, what sort of problem is the Ink Protocol solving by using the blockchain?
Yeah. So what we're building is the peer-to-peer transaction, but what we're solving is actually sort of the reputation and feedback layer. So I'll give you an example. It's like right now, at least in the US, you could sell a lot on eBay, and you might have 99 feedback over the past year, 100% positive, and sort of locked into eBay. You can't take reputation out and go sell on other marketplaces like FB Marketplace, Craigslist.
Right.
And that's why they charge high fees, right? At least 10%. Right. And that's why they have that monopoly and lock-in. And yeah, so basically at a very, very high level, what we're doing is we're storing all of that the feedback and transaction data on the blockchain. You own it under your address. Nobody can mess with it. It's verifiable, and now you can just take that and go sell anywhere you want. You could build up your reputation, sell on marketplaces with very low fees, and nobody can do anything about it. So that's a problem, right?
Got it. So in a sense, you're bringing people's controlling their own data again, right?
Yeah.
So instead of the data being owned in a walled garden like a standalone eBay or an Etsy or something like that, you can bring your reputation with you, and basically bring it on all kinds of different platforms.
Yeah, exactly. So we envision goods, services, anywhere kind of a basic transaction between you can earn reputation and use it on your next transaction. And the idea is these are transactions where you don't necessarily know who it is to go by sort of a score or a platform telling you what it is. Now you can do it in a completely sort of open, decentralized way. Yeah.
Fantastic. This is great.
Yeah.
So
Awesome. Yeah.
tell me about the utility of the token and the token economics.
Sure. So the token, as I mentioned before, like it's kind of all derived from people buying and selling using virtual currency on Listia. So the token is designed primarily as a medium of exchange, but it's also staked within the contract during escrow. So for example, when I buy something from you, it could take you several days to pack and ship and sort of send out the item. So one of the main things we noticed on Listia is when you're dealing with someone you have no idea about, it's great if the money is kind of held there until you receive the item. So within Ink Protocol's contract, it has sort of that staking mechanism. And then it also is earned by what we call dispute resolution contracts. So we have this idea that if a trade goes wrong, then you have a pluggable contract where that person can help you resolve this dispute. So if I said, I never received this item, and you said you shipped it, then there could be a neutral third party. This can be anyone. It could be a person. It could be a service. It could be one of our partnerships, Claros, which provides sort of a small jury of peers, which is really interesting. And they can help resolve this dispute, and they in turn also earn a token for their services.
Okay.
So yeah, and what we did is we launched like last month on Listia itself, and we replaced all the Listia credits with XNK token, and people have been buying and selling with that ever since, which is awesome.
That's fantastic. So that's my next key point, which is the status of your minimum viable product. And it sounds like you already can you go into a little bit more depth about how it's being used today and transaction volumes on Listia?
Sure. So yeah, in the last, I think, month and a half or so, I think we've seen close to 1 million items listed using XNK as the currency. So what we did is when we released the token, we converted everyone on Listia from their credits to XNK. And that was sort of our initial seed, our initial test bed.
Got it.
MVP, if you will. Although Listia has been running for many years. So Listia uses XNK exclusively right now.
That's so fantastic. So tell me, what is sort of the next partnerships that you're thinking to line up where XNK will be the medium of exchange?
Yeah, so we have so we've been talking to a lot of marketplaces about using XNK either for purely for reputation or for reputation and payments. So we've announced a few like Bounty 0x where they're going to use XNK to provide reputation for their bounty hunters, and they're kind of moving more and more towards a marketplace where you do micro tasks. Right now it's bounties for like a lot of cryptocurrency projects, but it evolves into like you pay someone over the internet to do some small task for you, and then in turn you can leave them feedback. And then another big one we signed recently is with Sharetribe. So they're a SaaS platform for marketplaces. So a lot of successful marketplaces, have been built on top of their software. In the next version of their software, they're going to include sort of an option to use Ink as a reputation layer. So any potential future marketplaces building on top of them will have access to sort of Ink reputation, Ink transactions. And then, there's actually one that, probably will be announced around the time this video goes out. So we can talk about it. It's, we're starting to talk to e-commerce companies. This one is called Everyday Carry, everydaycarry.com. They have a huge kind of a community and website devoted to kind of men's accessories. And one of the things we're doing is we're going to be integrating Ink into their site so that people, when they, kind of actually when they interact on the site, when they buy and sell, they can earn ink for those interactions. And I think longer term, they're building a marketplace as well. So we're going to be integrated into that. But this is kind of the key, is to get it into the hands of real regular consumers. So we're just starting to announce those partnerships where, the company has millions of users already. So
Right. So this is potentially, with the right partnerships, you're starting to get that network effect, right? Where XNK is going to be in the hands of, sort of kind of step up levels of new users as each new platform gets onboarded, right?
Right. So we're very lucky that we had our own marketplace and platform. But the key really is to continue to do partnerships and other ways to kind of grow the utility. So beyond partnerships, we're also building and will release soon an Ink Pay app. It's called Ink Pay. It's an app that's almost like a PayPal, but tuned for marketplace transactions. So we're going to aim it in the US at Craigslist, right? So right now on Craigslist, you buy and sell, but you have no idea who that person is. You don't know what their reputation is. There's no payment system. So we're just building a simple app. Next time you buy concert tickets from someone, on Craigslist, and you go out, in front of the gas station to meet that person to buy the tickets, you can look up who they are beforehand, see their reputation, and pay, and then leave them new feedback using the app.
So will XNK be used as both the collateral that you post for the transaction, as well as a payment mechanism, or will people be using sort of maybe a Bitcoin or some other token for the payment, and then using XNK as a way to post collateral for the transaction? How is this going to be implemented on these different platforms?
Yeah, so we're leaving it open. We think long term you can kind of pay with what you want, but the most basic case is that you're paying with XNK as well.
Okay.
So on Listia, everyone has a XNK balance. You can buy and sell directly using it. But we know that, as we hit Craigslist, right? We talk about Craigslist. People are going to be using their native fiat currency. So Ink Pay app will support that use case where you can pay, either using fiat to XNK back to fiat, or fiat directly, and then the app simply uses XNK to kind of run the protocol. So we have a couple ways to go about it. But yeah, ultimately you won't have to always denominate your items in XNK. That's just what we're doing on Listia.
Sure. And so there's a wallet now that's available today that people can see their XNK and use it for posting the collateral or paying for the goods.
Yeah, so on Listia you can, and then the Ink Pay app is in development. Will be out soon, definitely by this quarter, and hopefully a little sooner. Right.
Fantastic. So let's talk about something we kind of hit on a while ago, is about scalability.
Yeah.
Because so XNK is ERC20, and as you're talking about additional partnerships and transactions, we start running into the limitations of ERC20. So how are you thinking about the project, say, in the mid to long term?
Yeah, so I think about in the short term, like a marketplace like Listia does, up to 5, sometimes maybe 10,000 transactions a day, but sort of in the low thousands, right? So right now, the state of Ethereum, it can support, I don't know, several 100,000 transactions a day. So we're not pushing it even sort of in a CryptoKitties way yet. But yeah, as we achieve scale and you hit 10,000, 20, 50,000, it'll start to kind of hit the limitations of simple transaction volume. So one thing we do on Listia is, we don't immediately write everything to the blockchain. We kind of do our own thing, almost like a side chain, and then, write the data as needed. So that's kind of midterm. There's a bunch of ways that you can kind of help scale. But ultimately, I think us and everyone else building on Ethereum will have to help, but also wait and see, how scaling develops there, and hopefully
Sure.
it goes well enough so that everyone can run their transactions on there.
Understood. I think a lot of people are in that boat, and ourselves included, right? As
Yeah.
an exchange, we're thinking about scalability for financial services transactions, because the volumes, especially in financial services, and similar to what you're doing, are just explosive, right? So as we think about the new blockchain economy that's taking force, how do we support the demand, which we think is coming? And obviously you already have some good working prototype, which I think is absolutely fantastic.
Awesome.
So tell me about what you see as the next major milestone for the project.
Yeah, so the next major milestone, I think, is getting InkPay out, but more than that is getting it into the hands of real people who will use it. And we have a few ways to go about that. I mentioned, targeting Craigslist. So that strategy is more like, well, there's a marketplace out there with huge liquidity, but missing some very basic features that like eBay has had for forever, right? So if we can build a layer on top, I think we can get people to use it simply because those features are needed. And then I think the next phase after that is starting to get a lot of these high volume sellers on a lot of the marketplaces to buy into the idea of, hey, let me move my reputation onto the blockchain so I can use it everywhere. So we'll be having campaigns around like, hey, get your reputation. We'll help you import it, move it onto the blockchain. We're not charging anything for it, but the more sellers we have with decentralized reputation, the better. So those are the next two big steps.
Right. And I totally agree with you that I spent a lot of time on eBay. I value all of my positive ratings, and shame on the person that gave me one negative rating.
Right. Right.
So, and I guess on eBay, I forget what the fees were, but it was maybe something like there's a listing fee you had to pay, and then some sort of value of the transaction of up to 2%, right? Am I right about that?
Yeah. So they actually largely did away with listing fees unless you're a higher volume, but the ending fees are like 5-7%.
Wow.
And then when you add the payment fees, like through PayPal, it's actually in addition to that. And the average fee that, we talk about with other marketplaces really runs like 10 to 15%.
Okay. Now so I think what we've established here is that one of the key values that you get with something like a centralized exchange like an eBay is the reputation management. Yeah. So take me through, Seth is selling his baseball card collection, which his mother may or may not have thrown out when he went off to college.
Right. It might still be there. Yeah.
Maybe it's in the attic. I don't know about that. But so I sell my baseball card collection on eBay versus, and I've got a good reputation. I've sold baseball cards before, so find me, versus now I'm going to sell it on Craigslist, but I'm using the Ink protocol and the XNK for my reputation management. Talk to me through those two transactions and what the bottom line cost would be for both.
Yeah. So let's say it's like an awesome collection. It's worth $1,000 and you sell it on eBay. Easy enough, right? You have a photo, type it up. They have plenty of buyers on there, and when someone buys it, you might pay $100 out of the $1,000, and you get your $900. And it's kind of always been. So on Craigslist right now, it's difficult because you post it and nobody knows who you are. You might not get many buyers. They might be worried about many many things that could happen when they deal with you. But with Ink, you snap a photo, put it on Craigslist. You actually, in this case, you paste in your Ethereum address, and then anyone can take that and look up all your past Ink reputation and transactions. And then the reason they know it's you is because they have to pay to that same address, right? There's no way you can fake it. So they pay you, and now they're very happy. You guys meet up, you hand over the baseball cards, they release the funds, and then they can leave you a feedback saying, this is an awesome transaction. And in that case, there's no service provider. All you really pay is the gas fees, right? So depending on what the gas fee is that day, definitely less than $1 in the cents range. So that's how we see it. Right.
So I just want to pause right there and bring this out to you. Using XNK, what we've done is we've compressed the transactional fees for the exact same transaction to maybe less than 100th, 1%.
Right.
Let's be generous. Let's say 1% of what traditional centralized platforms like eBay, what you can do using XNK. So
right.
This is amazing.
It's huge. And if you think about it, it's basically because you use eBay because it's so trustworthy because of the reputation. And if you can just have that anywhere, you sell on Craigslist just as easily. And we talk about this a lot. It's kind of out there and theoretical, but let's say you're selling something that's not local and you have a bunch of followers on Instagram. You could just as easily post your photo on Instagram, say, for sale, here's my address. And that's basically a store, right? Because you now have, assuming people see your item and they want to buy it, they just pay you to the address. They look up your reputation. It's basically an entire store built into just one address as sort of the endpoint.
And is there sort of a user-friendly GUI where people can see a summary of the ratings, just like you would on,
Yeah. So Ink Pay would give you that, but along with Ink Pay, we're also releasing just a regular web UI. We call it sort of the Etherscan of Ink Protocol. So it's the Explorer for Ink Protocol. Okay. It's nothing that you can't see in Etherscan, but you have to kind of dig in, right? So it's a more user-friendly way to look at it. But all that data is visible by Etherscan as well. So it's quite interesting.
Incredible, interesting. Are there any other sort of key updates or announcements you want to maybe jump the gun here and tell us about, and we can time the broadcast of this for a time that suits?
So I mean, the one I talked about, our integration with one of the largest kind of e-commerce and retail sites for men's accessories. That's something we haven't announced yet. We were planning for, I think, today. So, it'll be timed well with this video. You can read more about it, hopefully at that time on our blog. The only other thing, not really jumping the gun, is we released a developer portal a little while ago. One thing, but we actually want other people to build apps, right? If you build one that's better than ours, like, we want people to use that one. So I think Ink Protocol is as much sort of this open system as it is at developer.inkprotocol.com, developer docs and so forth. So if there's any Twitters out there just want to build on top of Ethereum blockchain, it's available. And we have like a Gitter, like a chat room where you can come chat with our developers. Our CTO is in there. So cool stuff. That's for any of the tinkerers and developers out there. Should be pretty fun.
Fantastic, Gee-Hwan. Thank you so much for taking the time to tell us about the project. We're really excited to have XNK listed on Cryptos. I think we share a lot of the same values in terms of helping to bring crypto to the mainstream. And I think this is a great match, and we couldn't be more excited for you and for the project. Yeah,
same here. We're really excited to be partnering with you guys from the beginning. Just super impressed with what you guys are doing. So really excited about it too.